don't like the silence. Someone say something.
Something.
Are we?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So here we are.
Well, I'd love to welcome everyone today. I'm Jane Eggleston, and Karen Arrighetti, our marketing chair, is ill. So I'm taking her place today, helping out. And I'd like to know, first of all, if there are any new people today who have not been members of Osher. Could you raise your hand? See, we have a thing down here, reactions at the bottom, that you can click on and raise your hand if you'd like. Anyone? No? Oh, well.
There's one up, Joy.
Yeah,
Joy
Joy
Yagman.
Yagman. Welcome, Joy.
Joy, welcome.
Hi, good morning. I used to live in Rochester. I now live in New York City. My daughter still lives in Rochester, and I'm a former colleague of a new staff member at RIT. Vanessa Herman sent this information to me. I don't remember what office she's with at RIT, but she just started a job there.
She's our boss. That's wonderful.
Oh, okay. I don't know if Vanessa is on this call or not.
She's not, no.
Okay. So Vanessa and I used to work right next door to each other in our offices at Pace University. And I miss her so much, okay? So you guys now have her, and I can't say enough about her. And even if Vanessa is not listening, that's fine. So I actually do a lifelong learning program at Pace, but it's not the Osher program. It's much smaller. It's not as diverse. So maybe I'll become a member of your Osher program.
Well, that would be fantastic. We welcome you. You know, we have people, we even have a member from Africa here at Osher. So who even participates quite a bit and asks questions and everything. It's amazing. So Zoom has allowed us to do this. It's wonderful.
I know. So thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to hearing your presentation.
Great. Welcome. Okay. We'll go on to the next slide. And what we are is a learning community in a very relaxed, informal classroom setting. And we share knowledge and spark ideas, inspire new thinking, and forge friendships. In fact, it's been a wonderful opportunity. I joined shortly after moving back to Rochester, and most of my friends have come through Osher. I just love that. There are no tests or pressure, and you just enjoy learning. And in fact, a friend of mine who's now a member of Osher is teaching, and he said, it's so nice he was a professor, and it's so nice not to have the only question be, is this going to be on the exam? He said he loves all the questions that we have here at Osher. Okay, Sarah, can you tell us about our origin?
Sure. RIT was started in 1829, and in 1987, we began from the College of Liberal Arts, Multidisciplinary Studies, where they wanted to bring in something where it was lifelong learning for everybody. So when the Board of Trustees approved it, they named themselves the Athenaeum, which was the original name of RIT in 1829. In 2006, we applied for an endowment from the Bernard Osher Foundation, and we had a 3-year period to meet our requirements. And we did that in the first year, hooray. So we became part of the endowment in 2009. So we changed our name from the Athenaeum to Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at RIT. The Athenaeum name was picked up by the RIT magazine, just so you know, if you see the Athenaeum out there, that got reused. We are part of 124 Osher networks that are across the worldwide, the nationwide. And we have been very lucky and blessed to have this as part of our group. And we hope that you are enjoying yourselves too. Okay, Jean.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, I'd like Dave, our chairman, to tell us a little bit about our organizational structure.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. As you see on the slide, we have a fairly straightforward organizational approach. The top row of 5 boxes is the executive committee, the people who are the vice chairs of the council, marketing, participation, programming, and then the Osher secretary and the Osher treasurer. Below them are the committees that work with them. And as you see, there are lots of committees, several of which are open in the sense that we don't have listed chairs, but we do have the activities being carried out. So if you're interested in working in participations, working with social groups, I would urge you just to get in touch with the Osher staff and volunteer. We've been having online social events run on a one-off basis. That is, you're not committed for 2 years when you agree to set up a social event. You can see that in programming, the Course Offerings Committee is in some ways the most active committee. It is in charge of what we're seeing today. The solicitation and approval and scheduling of all of our course offerings. And then we have an intercession program, which we'll resume once we're able to gather together next year, in which we have trips in the area to visit institutions of interest, museums, and so on. The Fuddler Lecture Series continues. We have a very active and lively technology committee, which is going to do some great things for us in the near future, as they have already done so. We have a support group, we call them the wizards, the people who help instructors in classrooms and not right now online, so that instructors can concentrate on their material. Somebody is talking. We need to mute somebody. Can Cheryl Lee mute for a minute?
I got her.
Thank you so much. And then you see some other committees that do not participate in the council. The previous chair leads the advisory committee. There's an arts and lectures committee. That is an activity that when we come back together, we will continue to carry out as a group. You can see all off to the left, our kind of ex officio members, our program staff, and our link to RIT, Vanessa Herman, the Vice President for Government and Community Relations. And then at the bottom right, there are other really interesting opportunities. We have an interesting library if you haven't been in the building. We have a gallery where we display artworks by members or of interest to members. We have an active and interesting, and we hope growing, group of special interest groups, photography, various music performance groups. Right now there's an Apple Macintosh group, a travel group. All of these are activities that are quite lively. And then we have a sunshine group and videographers. So you can see as you look at this, there are a lot of opportunities to work with the Osher activity structure and at the same time make a lot of new friends. I think you'll find as you talk to some of the people who are committee chairs under our areas and the vice chairs of council, they have discovered in doing this work, they've made a lot of new friends. So this is something to look at very carefully.
Thanks
So
a lot. Thanks so much, Dave. Thanks so much.
Jane, you have a question from Evelyn.
Oh, yes.
Evelyn, you'll need, you're unmuted. Good.
What is sunshine?
The Sunshine Club or group, what is that, Dave?
They send cards. I'll answer for Dave. They send cards and get well, sympathy when members reach out to them and let them know that one of our members could use a card or,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
It's a good activity. And thank you for rescuing me, Nita, because I did the crime of crimes. I forgot to unmute myself. So I gave an answer.
We have another question from Ron Mitchell.
Yes, I was wondering, the big endowment of funds, was that funded by bootleggers, or what was their, company or organization, where'd they get their money from?
Osher, I guess Mr. Osher.
No, but what was Osher into?
Yeah.
I can tell you that story too. Bernard Osher owned World Bank, I believe it was, and he sold it to either Wells Fargo or another large bank like that. At the end of that, he had $894 million, I think it was. He opened up 5 different types of endowments. One was health, one was older learning, one is based in Sweden with his wife. But anyway, there's, the Oshers across our country, and that's where it started from. A wealthy man with money to spend.
Wonderful.
Thanks, Nita.
You're welcome.
Okay. At our classrooms, we have wonderful classrooms and they've been sitting idle, but we will be getting back to them. We're just kind of waiting for word. We hope to get back in the fall for at least on a limited basis, but we want to continue with Zoom. And the classrooms we have lectures and we have lecture hall, and we have 6 classrooms altogether, very nice facility. But what we've been doing is this Zooming ever since we got right on the ball here, and right after COVID began. By the spring semester, we were ready to run classes on Zoom, and they've been very, very successful, and we've been able to have members from all over the country and the world join us. It's been wonderful. Okay, so we're going to be talking now about the various courses that we offer. First of all, we have 42 this semester. They range from one week courses, one session, to 10 weeks. And they run Monday to Friday, and we have usually they run 1.5 hours. Some of them run to 2 hours. And we have 3 classes a day, and so we have an awful lot to offer. Would you like to talk about the Fodler, Nita? Oh, unmute yourself. Unmute.
And I know better than that. I'm sorry. So we have this Thursday lunch and lecture series, and it started with our founder, Marge Fodler, who just thought that'd be a great idea to bring in outside speakers rather than using our own speakers all the time, or our own course leaders. And so we have a full schedule of outside speakers. They speak for us for free, which is just wonderful. So I'm going to tell you what we've got lined up for this term. We have the RIT budding filmmakers and animators. So we're going to start in the future. Oscar goes to, and it's always wonderful when we have the students because they bring such an energy. And one of my, as chair of the Fodler committee, I like to bring in the students at least once or twice a year. They're very busy, so sometimes it's hard to get them, but they bring energy and it keeps us connected to our parent university. And then we had Maureen Farron speak before. She's a virologist who works at RIT, and she was so popular and had so many questions and everything that we brought her back right away. We didn't even give her a week to think about it. And then Dr. Ted Bennett is going to be speaking on jumpstarting a cycle of healthcare, cultural change with lifestyle medicine. He's spoken before, and all of our Fodlers are actually, once you're a member, you can access them on a portal. And he has spoken before, and he's really quite humorous. So I think you will enjoy that one very much as well. Stephen Hess is a Holocaust survivor, and he's going to tell his story of survival against all odds. And then, have you ever met a luthier? Do you even know what one is? Well, I didn't. So I'm going to leave you with a question mark on that one, but that's going to be Ken Sullivan. Next slide, please. And then we're going to have Dr. Tamara Carroll. She's, her topic is feminist protest marches and use of visual media. And again, she's an RIT professor. I really like to keep a connection to our parent university. And then we're going to have a candid discussion on race by Dr. Keith Jenkins. He is the associate, he's a vice president and associate provost for diversity and equity and inclusion for RIT. And then we had the Seneca Park Zoo veterinarian speak this term, and the Seneca Park Zoo and RIT did a collaboration on the river otters. So it's kind of a follow-on to that. And so Dr. Carolyn DeLong is going to be doing that. And of course, the big news, if it actually happens, but with COVID, who knows, is that the RIT Jazz Festival will happen this summer, and it will be held on the RIT campus for the first time. And RIT is making a very huge push to combine arts along with the sciences that it's so famous for. So this is a great opportunity. And we used to do a thing called an intercession before COVID, and we used to take tours of things on the campus. And the new Magic Center is one of those places that is fostering the arts connection with the engineering. So that's something to look forward to in the future as well, if we can take a tour there. But then I always like to end our year with Dr. David Munson, who's the RIT president. I happen to serve currently on the RIT Board of Trustees, and I can tell you that this university has done a wonderful and magical job of pivoting this university and keeping the COVID rate very, very low. So it'll be very exciting to hear him speak about all the great things that are happening on the campus. And all of these dates can be found in the catalog. And of course, the announcement is sent the week before the following presentation. There is a Fodler survey that will be coming to you. Please look for that. We want to make sure that we're hitting all the right buttons as far as topics go. So please help us out by participating in that. And we're always looking for new ideas. So you can always send me speakers that you've heard. We always have more speakers than we have slots. 10 weeks sounds like a long time, but it really isn't. And but we keep a running tally or a list of future speakers as well. So if you're interested in joining us at all, help plan for the full year next year, you can email me at that address. And one other thing I want to say to you, this is a wonderful way to preview Osher to outside people, is to invite them to our Osher lecture series. And we have gotten many new members by inviting them to this lunchtime series. So I highly recommend that you do that. And that's all I have. So thank you.
Thank you, Nita. You've done a wonderful job, and I'm so excited about the spring semester.
Thank you. Thank you, Jane.
Okay, and let's see, do we have, shall I tell you a little bit about the special interest groups? We have several of them that we call them SIGs, and they're a wonderful opportunity. They're like a club, and they're a great opportunity to get to know other people. I had started the travel SIG, and that's been really successful. We've had a lot of different people speak about different trips they've taken and how they traveled and how they booked the trips and if they used a tour group or if they just went on their own. And we've gotten a lot of tips that way. And there's a lot of open discussion. It's been a wonderful experience. The Apple, Mac, iPhone, iPad class has been great because, you know, there are so many questions all the time coming up about this different equipment. And it's a great place to bounce your questions. The Pearls of Wisdom is a really nice group too, because people just sit and chat and do their needlework or knitting and talk and share ideas on new techniques and all. Photography, we always have a theme, and we have people go out and try different techniques and bring them back and show them and have we critique each other. Then the walking group is a new group, and we've been walking in the parks in the area, and it's nice. We even bring our dogs, and we have a great time, get to know and chat with people as we're walking. It's been a great experience.
Jane, you have a question from Joy?
Oh, Joy, yes.
Yeah, hi. So maybe I missed it. So what's the lunchtime lecture thing that you talked about as far as like encouraging new members? How does that work?
Well, I think that what she means is that we can invite others to attend the class, or people who come to give a talk sometimes develop an interest or realize how great Osher is. We always have good questions for the speakers.
Joy, I would just wanted to add that it's one of the few times you're not supposed to share the link for your classes that you've registered for. That's a privilege of membership, but you can share the Fodler link when you get it the week before the following presentation.
It's a wonderful opportunity to learn what's going on in our community. We've had so many. We've had, you know, the director of the ballet, the director of the symphony group. It's been a really great opportunity. Okay, so we have also other special events. Unfortunately, some of these we haven't been able to do during the COVID. But we have these arts and lecture series. We have a special fund set up for that. And we've had really wonderful professional dancers and musicians from the Eastman and other spots, and poets, and come and perform. And then what's special is we also, afterwards, it's a big social event because we have wonderful appetizers and an open bar. So you can't beat that, and it's all free. Then the social events, we have a number of those. Again, it's been somewhat limited, but we've been able to figure out lots of things to do now on Zoom. And we've been having regular, at least monthly on Fridays, wine tastings with experts coming in to talk about wine, and then we also have a lot of time to chat. And we're also talking about having other types of tastings like teas or beers and that kind of thing. And it's really, even if you don't have the wine or the beer, it's just fun to sit and chat with people. Okay, our summer seminars, we have had wonderful trips. We have on a Tuesday, usually in the morning, we'll invite speakers and talk about what we're going to be doing on Thursday. Talk about different themes, whether it's a history or whatever, or going to the vineyards in the Finger Lakes, or going to the show at Niagara on the Lake, and then we do the full day trip, includes a bus trip. There is a fee for that, but it's well worth it. A wonderful chance again to get together with other Osher people and do fun things in the summer.
Jane, you have a question from Evelyn?
Oh, Evelyn.
I was wondering about the summer because I am a relatively new member. I had a trial membership last semester, which I just converted to a full membership. In the summer, is it only the seminars, or are there also classes as
No,
there are in the other?
Yeah, we also have, it's a little bit abbreviated, but we do have a nice term in the summer as well, a summer term of classes.
Thank you.
Yeah. The university benefits are wonderful for membership. You get the ID card, student ID card, which is great for discounts. And you can also audit their liberal arts courses. And you have access to their audiology and hearing aid services, which is a big group in RIT. It's a specialty at RIT. You have a free BJ membership in Henrietta. And so you can get the gas there and everything. It's much reduced. Then you have access at a discounted rate to the phys ed facilities there. And you have access to the library and access to their speakers, their entertainment, everything at student rates. So there are a lot of benefits. Okay, we have different membership levels, and the full membership is $325 a year, and that covers everything, all four terms that we have, all the courses you want to take. You can take as many as you want. You don't pay by the course, you pay just once a year. It includes all the lectures and various SIGs, and now the trips, there is a fee, of course, for the buses and that kind of thing, but access to all of these things. It includes the ID card, all the RIT access too. Now the trial membership is $100 for one term, and which is also a really good deal. The only thing it doesn't include is the RIT card, etc. And then a supporting membership, that's more for possibly for like spouses or friends who really just want to participate in the social activities and not take the courses. So also you can, Osher memberships can be given. I know I gave someone a gift for a one semester course for one term for the winter term. And it's a nice gift. In fact, a lot of our members have come by maybe their children or their friends have given them a gift of a membership, and they've just become so interested and really enjoyed it so much that they've become permanent members. Now we have the course previews here today, and Debbie, would you like to tell us a little bit about the one session courses?
Sure, I'd be glad to. One session courses are a very special part of our program. And as it says, the entire course takes only one day, 90 minutes on a Monday morning at 11 o'clock. This is a great way for people maybe who've been thinking about leading a course to dip their toe in the water and say, okay, I'll try this one time, and you can find out how satisfying it really is. This term, our one sessions are really interesting because we have, first of all, we have a course on, I'm not going to go in the order this is listed, but a couple of our engineers are going to talk about the history of organs, everything from old pipe organs to modern organs. But if you look at the offerings we have, a lot of what we're doing this year, this term, are really sort of travel oriented. It's beginning right here locally in Wayne County. In 2007, they created a program where people could paint murals on the sides of bridges or buildings. And this goes from the Erie Canal along Newark and Palmyra all the way up to the lake. And so Jean Hitchcock is going to take us on a photo tour of all of these sites. And she said she's going to expand it to do Monroe County next. Following along the travel idea, we have two people coming out of the travel SIG actually that volunteered to fill in on our one sessions. First of all, Nancy Castro is going to take us through her time that she spent in South Africa and Botswana. Her safari pictures, her photographs are wonderful. And then Sandra Condry is going to do a photo journey through Vietnam that she took in 2018. So you're going to see a very different Vietnam than what we grew up thinking about back in the 70s. I then am going to lead a course. I've called it One Woman, Four Camels and a Dog. It's a coming of age book that was written by a young gal in Australia in the 1970s who decided she was going to tame wild camels and then cross the great Australian desert with them. She was underwritten by National Geographic, so the photographs are absolutely marvelous, by Rick Smolin. Then Dick Scott. Dick is going to talk about the 600 days in hiding, so I'll leave that for him. But he's also going to do a one session on something I never knew about, and that's the pearl industry, the pearl button industry that arose in the Mississippi Basin at the turn of the century. And it was like a mini gold rush. He said everybody was going and jumping in on this pearl craze with fresh water pearls. So that's very interesting. So this is what we're offering this time, and he's going to talk about the 600 days of hiding separately. But it's a wonderful way to start your week off Monday mornings at 11 o'clock, and you do have to register for each one separately as they have different registration numbers. Thank you.
Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
Deb. I'll get started. Want me to get started?
Yeah.
Okay. 600 days. A year ago or so, a friend of mine who lives in Rhode Island called me up, and he said, I've just met a neighbor of mine, and he's a Holocaust survivor, and he's written a book. And he and his family promote this book all over the place, and they present topics. And I said, wow, I gotta see this book. And he said, you don't have to wait long. We've already started mailing it to you. It's on the way. And it came in the mail, and I got it and read through it. And I thought, wow, this is a topic for a single session. And I contacted the family, and I explained what Osher was. I said, do you guys want me to do this? They said, absolutely. We definitely want you to do it. We have one request. If possible, we want young people to hear this message too. So if any of your members have young people in the family that they can bring to the session or can buy the book and give it to them, that's our goal. We want to spread this to the younger population, this information about the Holocaust. And I said, well, I'm going to pass that on. We're going to do our best to try to get some young people in. And if I do mention Pearl Harbor, we'll make sure that they know that that is not a gospel singer. We'll try to get that square. Anyway, to get back to the story here. So Salonika, now known as Thessaloniki in Greece, was invaded by the Nazis in the early part of World War II. Before we were in it, in the spring of 1941, there were over 50,000 Jewish people living in that city. Almost all of them were taken away. They were taken away to the concentration camps. And of that big majority of people, less than 2,000 survived the war, or documented to survive the war. There was an unknown number of families that hid out in the city. And only 3 of those families were documented to survive. And one of them was the Algava family. The parents and the infant child. The infant child or toddler child was the author of the book, who is now in his 80s. So his parents are the stars, Henry and Allegra Algava. And the book is written like a screenplay. It's written like a movie script. It's real easy to read. a middle schooler could read it and get a good feel for it. So they sent me many different things. I've had many emails back and forth. I've received photographs and I've received some video clips. The parents, Henry and Allegra, did a 3.5-hour testimonial for the Yale University Holocaust Museum. And I have that entire interview, and I'm going to take snippets out of that, and we'll actually be able to see them give parts of their testimony. And it's pretty powerful stuff listening to them talk. So the presentation that I'm going to do is really their story. I'm just the conduit. I'm not going to be telling much of my own stuff. I'll give a little bit of historical background. So there's a synergism between the book and the presentation. I think it could go either way. You could listen to the presentation and then read the book, or vice versa. I think it works better if you read the book first. And if you have the book, then you can give it to a young person someplace and let them read it. I'm real honored to present this, and I think it's gonna be a nice presentation. And, so thank you very much.
Oh, thanks so much. That sounds wonderful. Okay, Nancy McAfee, would you like to tell us a little about this course you're offering? Nancy?
Sorry, my name is pronounced McAfee.
McAfee, I'm so sorry.
Okay. We're going to look at the history of architecture through actual buildings. And I will cover, this is a 5-week course, and I'm going to introduce 10 great buildings that will take us through the history of architecture and talk about the influence of materials and place and culture on buildings, so that when you finish, you'll have a sense of why these buildings get built, what the culture was that produced them, and what some of the materials are that allow them to be what they are. For instance, we have 3 on your screen in front of you. We're going to talk about the Eiffel Tower, which was built by Gustav Eiffel. And this was a time when iron had begun to be used in buildings. And he experimented with iron to try and make it more elastic and more durable and able to support more weight. And he kept experimenting until he developed a kind of rolled iron that would allow him to build the Eiffel Tower bigger than anything that had been built before. And it was really the beginning of a revolution in skyscraper architecture. He was the very beginning. Next to that, we have Frank Gehry's Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao. He used, and it's current, he's still alive. He used the computer to figure out how to make those titanium sheets that bend and curve and swirl actually get built. It's like you look at this and you think, okay, how did they do this? Well, he developed his own computer program that allowed him to do this, and the use of titanium and metal and the computer program allowed him to make shapes that had never been built before. So that's a more modern version. And then down on the bottom, we have one of the oldest ones. We will start with the pyramids, but the next oldest one is the Roman Colosseum. And the Romans invented concrete, and they used it to make this 3-story, it used to be 3 stories, building. So we'll look at, how did they make the concrete? How did they figure this out? And why did they build this building? Because this building was huge in the time it was built, and what was it used for? And so all of these things will allow you, after 5 weeks, to just understand architecture a little bit more. Anybody have any questions? No? Oh.
It sounds wonderful, Nancy.
Okay, thank you.
And Tim is our next speaker, and he's always, he does some wonderful presentations, and he's a geographer, but he's going to be talking about the geology of the national parks this time.
Okay, thank you, Jane, and good morning, everybody. I'm doing a 6-week course on the geology of our national parks. I've done a course on national parks already, but that was more on the history of the parks. And this will be concentrating more on how the parks actually came to being from geologic forces. Next, please. Now, I'll basically be covering 4 different topics. The first one is what processes make the landscapes. Well, there are 2 main competing forces that operate on our planet that we live on. And the first one are the quiet forces, erosion, wearing down of rock, and then it's eventually deposited on what we call passive margins. Those are the places on the earth like the East Coast where there are no mountain building, there are no mountains being built in the current time, although in the past there were. The Grand Canyon is an excellent example of a passive margin. In the deep past, layer upon layer was deposited there. And later on, the Colorado River dug out a canyon where you can see them today. Well, if erosion was the only thing going on, then all the continents would be worn down and they'd be below sea level. So that requires another force, and that's plate tectonics. We could spend a lot of the course on that. This is a machine inside the earth that causes the plates, the crustal pieces on the surface to move around, sometimes colliding, sometimes separating, sometimes making other kinds of movements as well. The picture you see on the right is showing a plate subducting beneath the mountains, producing volcanoes. The second topic. Next, please. There we go. There are 3 different ways that the plates can move. They can diverge, which means they're moving away from each other. And when they do, pieces will drop into what we call rift valleys. The best example in the United States is Death Valley in California, which you see in the picture on the left. Or plates can collide with each other. And when they do, one plate melts partially and the lava comes to the surface and produces volcanoes like Mount St. Helens shown in the second picture. The third picture is where the plates slide by each other, one going east, one going west. They neither one subducts, neither one sinks, but they still produce landscapes, such as Point Rees in California, about an hour north of San Francisco. And this is the boundary, infamous boundary known as the San Andreas Fault. And plate tectonics has been going on almost since the Earth formed over 4 billion years ago. And so we have parks that are based on old plate tectonics, like Isle Royale in Lake Superior, which is the last picture. Third topic. Hotspots. There are 2 big hotspots in national parks. The first one's in Hawaii. That's where Kilauea volcano is located. And all the Hawaiian Islands form from a hotspot, sending lava up to the surface. And in Wyoming, we have Yellowstone National Park, which is one of the few hotspots that's on land. And it produces a super volcano there, of course, with a lot of geothermal activity, geysers, hot springs, etc. And then we'll also be talking about national parks that are made from little continents, microcontinents, that have been shoved onto North America, almost like putting plaster on the wall. And you'll notice this rock formation of Olympic National Park, where the rock layers are tilted on their sides. And the only way that can happen is something had to shove them in that position. Fourth topic. Passive margins, which includes most of the eastern part of the country. There are many parks along the East Coast. Most of them are seashores, like Cape Cod you see in this picture. But they may be passive in one sense, but they are very dynamic because the coast is always changing. And then we have the old passive margins in the west that formed the parks of the Colorado Plateau, Grand Canyon, Zion, Bryce Canyon, etc. Most of them are composed of layers of rock some of them hundreds of millions of years old. Next. And the other topic we'll be talking about continuously, our national parks have been under stress. Some because we love them to death, and other because of benign neglect. A couple of years ago, 2 national monuments were practically taken away from us. So we'll talk about what needs to be done to make sure that the next generation has national parks to enjoy. And of course, we want to be able to enjoy them too, once travel will become easier again. And I think that's it.
Okay, thanks so much, Tim. That sounds really exciting.
Thank you.
I just wanted to tell you that our class, it's a 10-week class, and myself and Dick Jones are teaching it. And even though it's part 6, there's no need to have taken other parts of the course. We're talking about the evolution of life on Earth, and we're starting this time at the Cretaceous extinction, which is when the dinosaurs went extinct. Well, then after that, what happened? How did animals and birds survive this tremendous extinction? We're going all the way up to the 6th extinction, which is occurring now. Next slide. Okay, what the extinction, there were 2 main events that we think could have caused it, and they're not sure. That they know for sure that the upper picture here is the massive meteorite that hit the Yucatan area, and we'll talk about how it caused extinction. And then we also had this magma, the Deccan Traps in India, and that was a kind of a long-term extinction, which we think also had an effect on the dinosaurs and other life. But how did the birds and mammals survive this? They were just starting out at this point. There were some birds and mammals during the time of the dinosaurs, but how did they survive this? Next. Okay, so if we look here at the very top, at 66, you'll see that is where the extinction occurred. And then you'll see that from that, there were few really mammals and some birds, but you could see the explosion of mammals and reptiles and birds at that point, and also the bony fish. So we're going to emphasize mammals in this next class, and we're going to spend about 5 weeks on the mammals. Next. We're going to talk about the variety of the different types of mammals and how they evolved, and even how they ended up back in the water. Whales, dolphins, and all. How did they get there? And we're going to talk about the growth of the flowering plants and insect pollinators, and reptile evolution after the dinosaurs were eliminated. We're also incorporating, as we do it chronologically, and we're incorporating the geology, what was happening at the time of the development and the evolution of different animals. Where were they? How were they migrating across land strips or across oceans, or what? And so we're talking about the evolution of the continents, the breaking up of Pangea, and how the diversity of mammals developed. So the geology in India sped across what's now the Indian Ocean and smashed into Asia. We'll talk about that, and how that affected evolution, and the various islands and how evolution has occurred on those. Next. Yeah, and then we're going to spend a lot of time in this course, at least 5 weeks, on the evolution of humans and about just how they came from the chimp line, and all the various varieties of the genus Homo, where they lived, how they migrated, how they developed, like the pygmies on an island in Asia, the pygmy people. I think it's going to be really interesting. We're going to then end up with the sixth extinction, which is what man is doing to us now, doing to life on Earth by hunting, well, a climate, everything else. So that's going to be the very end of the course. Okay, next. Okay, so Marie, would you like to tell us about your course on Africa?
Yes, I would. Good morning, everyone. My course is on Tuesdays at 9:30. It's a 10-week course. Next slide. And Africa, second largest continent in the world with 54 countries. It has a population of 1.3 billion people. Next. Another way of looking at Africa, Africa is not a country. It is 54 countries. They're not united. There is a movement called the Pan-Africanism that is possibly going to be in place in 2063. Next. When I was a kid, this is what I knew about Africa. I knew about Johnny Weissmuller and this man called Tarzan and Jane and Sun and Cheetah, and everybody thought that's where everybody lived in Africa. Next. Today, maybe children learn about Africa early on, about the cute little animals in Disney's movie. Next. But to the world, to the long history of Africa, the Western world really did not pay attention to what was happening in this continent. We didn't know much about it. We didn't hear much about it. We don't think much about it. But what we do know from media and movies, we see the poverty, we see the disasters, the destruction and tyranny. Next. I'm going to go back to the Enlightenment period. This is the intellectual movement of the 18th century, and George Hegel was a very famous philosopher. I do a piece about this up until 1963. Historians and philosophers had this kind of a message. Africa has no history and did not contribute to anything that mankind can enjoy. Next. These are the images we see. The famine that's going on in Tigray right now, over confiscation of agricultural lands from one ethnic group to the other. Water. The shortage of water is unbelievable. Then you have a group, Boko Haram, and they want Nigeria to be a Islamic state. They kidnap young girls from schools. They use them as a negotiating tool to get their comrades out of jail. And they believe that Western education lures people away from the Islamic teachings that they adhere to. Next. But Africa is very much, it has a middle class, it has families who want the best for their children, education, security. Parents want to have jobs, housing. Next, please. I will present all kinds of people, all diversities, all ethnic groups. And again, it has the richest diversity genealogy in the world. Next. I will show people who live as they did back in early hunters and gatherers. This group, the Maasai women, they and their families live off the land with cattle. Their wealth is cattle. Next. And children, that's the generation now to make sure that children have, I'm sorry, Nita's comments are throwing me off.
I apologize.
Well, they're up, you lose your momentum. But this is a picture of school children. Looks like school children everywhere. Education, there are many, many colleges and universities in Africa people are unaware of. But the best education for children, the best health. And I will talk about those topics in my course. Next. My objective in presenting this course is to provide you a better understanding of the complexities of Africa. You will appreciate it and you will understand more of it. So the first week, the most important gift that Africa gave to the world is the humankind. And week 2, understanding the clans and tribes. And we will talk about how the Egyptian civilization contributed to the history of the other countries. Religion, Christianity, Islam, Timbuktu culture, week 4, Swahili. Then we will see, we'll understand Islamic slave trade, then the Atlantic slave trade. Week 5, first the Dutch, and then the British arrive. Week 6, what did they find? Diamonds and gold, imperialism, and the European scramble for the riches of Africa. Week 7, colonial rule, the tides of independence. Week 8, apartheid, struggles for independence, and then liberation from colonialism. Week 9, freedom fades, oil shock, Soweto, and Mandela. And week 10, Rwanda, the pandemic in South Africa, AIDS, review, and the future. Next. Someone said to me, Africa doesn't have cities. Well, Africa has many, many cities. This is Nairobi in Kenya. Next. This is Lagos, Nigeria, and you see in the middle, it's overcrowded. This is the largest population is in Nigeria. Next. One of the main resources are these resorts throughout the coasts of Africa. People from all over the world come to relax and have a vacation. This is Tripoli in Libya. Next. This is Johannesburg. No, this is Johannesburg, which is the largest and wealthiest city in Africa. Next. I will have a website, and you can contact me anytime with my email. I hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Marie. I know I've benefited from many of your courses, and I still have a lot of things that I think about, like your South America course. Anyway, I really enjoyed that. Roger is going to be teaching about a course on Darwin, Wallace, and the discovery of natural selection. Roger, could you tell us about it?
Sure. I think this is going to be a bit complementary to some of the stuff that Dick and Jane are doing. But what I'm interested in is how the theories developed. Next. There's Wallace in Singapore in 1862, and there's Darwin. Next. Next. There we go. Wallace was the younger man. Darwin was famous by the time Wallace did much of anything. This picture shows, I don't know if you can see my arrow or not. This is Wallace's lifetime and Darwin's lifetime stuck against the thing. And Wallace knew about Darwin. Wallace had read some of Darwin's accounts of his voyages before he set out. But the two men basically gave out the theory of natural selection at the same time, although it's pretty easy to show that Darwin knew what he was doing in the early 1840s. Next. So the thing in the box is a claim by Stephen Jay Gould, who I guess he died recently, was a famous paleontologist and a writer on evolution. And his claim is that evolution, or rather natural selection, was not possible just intellectually until the 19th century. And so we're going to look at that kind of thing. So I'm going to be addressing the question of whether Stephen Jay Gould was right. Next, please. So I'm going to look at the intellectual development in Europe from 30,000 feet up, as it were, going back to Columbus and before that. And we'll look at the lives and works of the two men, comparing and contrasting, and we'll talk about evolution and natural selection. It's a combination of history and science. Next. So here's what we're going to do. We'll have an introductory class where we'll meet Darwin and Wallace and see a little bit about them and look about science in general by the time we get to the mid-19th century. The key date there is 1859, which is the publication of The Origin of Species. Second last, we'll talk about the development of evolutionary thought up until Darwin and Wallace. Lecture 3, we're going to discover that evolution takes a long time, and the question is, did we have the time? So we'll learn a little bit about geology and the age of the Earth and what we knew about the age of the Earth in 1859, which was basically nothing. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Nobody had any idea how old it was. 4, we'll talk about the development of Darwin and Wallace, what they were like before their journeys. Very, very different people, and I think that's kind of interesting sociologically. Then we'll spend lecture 5 on Darwin's voyage, lecture 6 on Wallace's voyages. Lecture 7, we're going to talk about natural selection. Natural selection is the mechanism for evolution. As we'll discover, evolution goes way back, but without a mechanism. And so the mechanism is really important. So we'll spend a lecture on that. Then lecture 8, I want to talk about Darwin's book. Lecture 9, I want to talk about what happened to Darwin and Wallace after the origin of species. They diverged greatly. And finally, lecture 10, I would like to talk about how man fits into this evolutionary scheme. Back in their days, Dick and Jane will tell us a lot more about that. And I think next is questions. So if there are any questions, that's fine. Otherwise, I will hand it back to Jane.
Thanks, Roger. That sounds like a great course. And it will be complementary to ours. Our Osher, I learned from our staff that our Osher is one of the few who that has a lot of science-oriented courses. A lot of Oshers don't seem to do that, but we have a lot of people who are interested in science here. I also wanted to mention that the courses are taught all by all volunteers who teach these courses, and a lot of Oshers pay various professors to teach courses at the university, and that's how they run it. And then people pay by the course, Osher people. And ours is different. And I really like our technique. It's amazing how many people volunteer to teach these courses because maybe they've always had an interest in the subject. Maybe they didn't specialize in it in their career, but they've always loved it. And it's a chance for them to delve into it and learn more about it before they teach the course. And so it's been very successful here at Osher. If you'd like to join, here's the information, the background information, and you're welcome to join. We'd love to have you. You could do $100 for the spring, or you can go for the whole year. Now, if you do pay the $100, it goes toward the full membership if you decide to join after that. So, any questions?
There was a question in the chat from Marie. How long have you been interested in Africa, and what first led to your interest? From Jim Hooper.
I became more interested in around 2010. I went to Egypt and I said, I'm in Africa. I don't know anything about Africa. And that's what really started my quest to learn more.
Evelyn has a question.
Yes, we're interested in multiple classes that are happening simultaneously. Is it preferred that we register for both, even though we'll be watching the recording of one, or just register for the one we'll be watching live, and will all classes be available, all recorded classes be available, whether we've registered or not?
I can answer that. This is Julie. I would say yes, register for both courses so that you're on the mailing list for the course leaders. That way, like, for example, Tim sends out what amounts to a newsletter every week. Even if you're not going to be there in person, well, in person quotes. Most courses will be recorded and available on our website. They're noted in the catalog with a recording icon. There are only a small handful that aren't. So you'll be able to see that for yourself.
Thanks, Julie. You know what's amazing to me is that we have so many ways. If we miss a class, we now have the recording, so we can go back and watch the class. Or most people have a website, and you can go to that website and review everything yourself. Or if you've missed something or want to look it over again, you can go to the website. And also, there are lots of good suggestions on extra publications you could go to for more information on the subject. So there's a lot there.
Our next question comes from Joy.
Yeah, so what you were just talking about, so are you saying that you don't necessarily need to register for a class, that you could catch any of the ones that are offered even though you're not registered?
Yes.
Wow.
As a member.
Okay,
as long
yeah,
as it's recorded.
Of course. Okay. All right. Interesting. All right. I'm really beginning to get extremely tempted about this, like I wrote in the chat. I mean, for a variety of reasons. So how do I sign up for this?
Mary, it's up to you.
So Joy, you can either register on our website. There's a big button for join or renew now, and you would just create an account online and you can make your payment via credit card, or you can call and talk to Julie, our staff member, who can get you signed up, and that's 585-292-8989.
Is that phone number on your website?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I haven't looked at the website yet, other than just seeing Vanessa's information. Okay, and I'm going to have to send an email to Vanessa.
Thank you. Please do.
Well, I know anyone here would be happy to tell you what they love about Osher. So you can ask any questions you'd like.
No, I think from what I've heard between the participants and the lecturers, it really sounds like a fantastic program. A friend of mine, we went to college at SUNY Binghamton, but she now lives in Vegas, and there's an Osher program at the University of Las Vegas that she is an avid participant in. She raves about it. So, you know, and I don't know if there are necessarily any programs here in the city. I'm sure there are, but given that this is a connection to Rochester, this really sounds like it's up my alley.
Wonderful.
Can I just say something?
Well,
Here.
Ron Mitchell has his hand up first, and then
Okay.
Karen.
You have a question, but I'll give a shout out for Osher. At first, I thought the 325 was kind of expensive, but then when you divide it up into 4 quarters, it's very, very reasonable for, and then you're taking like possibly 2-3 classes a quarter. So I was wondering, the classes that are recorded, are they, how long are they stay on the website? Just till the end of the quarter, or when are they?
We are planning to keep them up for 2 weeks past the end of the term. So the end of next week, this term will be coming down.
Okay, thank you.
Pure and simple, it's a matter of storage space for them. We can't afford to have 5 years worth of courses on our website.
Understandable.
And Karen?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm gonna echo because of Dad, sorry. Just a couple points. It's exciting about Joy. This is being recorded, so I would suggest that people share the link to try to encourage other people to get as excited as Joy is and to join. So that's just one point I wanted to make. I also wanted to thank everyone for covering for me today. I've been ill, and Jane decided to pitch it for me, and everyone that's worked on this, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thanks, Karen. And Carol, you had something.
Yeah, I just put in the chat that not all classes are recorded because the memoir class would definitely welcome new people. It's a sensitive issue, so people in the class did not want that to be recorded. Many great stories are developed, and people are reaching a goal of getting their memoirs on paper.
Okay, yeah, I know sometimes, Carol, in yours, people have some very sensitive issues that they want to talk about and get it jotted down.
They said that the class that I surveyed them, and they said if we were recorded, it would change how we write. And these are stories you write for yourself. So
right, good. Anyone else have anything to say? Well, thanks everybody for coming, and thanks to all the participants for everything, all that you've done.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
It's been wonderful.
Don't forget, registration is Tuesday.
Oh boy, it's coming up. Okay, bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.